So as a younger guy, I was very frustrated with my dating life and pretty much around the topic of like women because I saw a lot of other guys having success with women early on, and I didn't have that same level of success. I didn't feel like I was really able to attract the type of woman that I wanted into my life. And it was a very frustrating thing. Because of that, I started watching a whole bunch of videos, doing a whole bunch of research, like how do I get more attraction from women? How do I get them to want me sexually? And over the years, over the things that I've learned online, books that I've read, experiences that I have had personally, and like just hanging around other people who are really good with girls, there are some things that I found that make it really easy for you to get that sexual attention from women. The thing that you've got to understand about sexual attraction specifically is that it's not really something you think about. It's kind of like this instinct that you get. For example, with men, if you're attracted to a woman, it's most likely the physical, like men are very visual. If you see a girl who has a nice butt, really nice looking, she has a nice like shape, she has a nice face and all of that stuff, you're going to be attracted to her. It's not really something you think about. It's kind of just like this instinct. Like when you see that, you're like, oh my gosh, like I'd want to have sex with her. I'd want to make her my girlfriend. Is she single? Like all these different things just pop into your mind. But when there's a girl who maybe isn't that attractive, even if she's really smart, even if she has a lot of these skills and whatever, a lot of guys just aren't going to be that attracted to her because that's not really what guys are necessarily sexually attracted to. That may be like an attractive trait to have, but specifically for sexual attention, that's not really something we care about too much. For guys, we're heavily visual, and women are similar, but they're not the same. Even though on this channel I've talked a lot about, building an aesthetic physique, becoming more attractive physically to attract a woman, I've noticed a lot of guys out there, they don't actually have these things, but they still get a lot of sexual attention and have a lot of these sexual experiences with women. Having a good aesthetic muscular physique and, doing all these things to look smacks and whatever, they are helpful, but it's only one part of the picture. From what I've gathered, women care more about how you make them feel in your interactions more than how, you look on a physical level. Even if you're kind of chopped, if you can just make her feel a certain way by, demonstrating these certain characteristics, you can still have a lot of success with women. It's about doing things to demonstrate the characteristics that make her want you sexually. The first is demonstrating confidence over neediness. We've heard it all the time, like, oh yeah, we need confidence if we want to have more success with girls. But people don't take the time to use inverse thinking. Like, what is the opposite of having confidence? For me, I found it's just neediness. If you are needy, if you demonstrate that you, for example, need her to like you or need other people to validate you, it just turns her off in a big way because you're demonstrating that you are not confident. Because a confident individual, they're not needy. They don't really care what this one individual person thinks of them. They're just, they're more solid, if that makes sense. Next is being able to lead versus being passive, especially feminine women. They want you to be able to lead. This doesn't mean like forcing or like being a dictator or anything, but it's just like, if it's in social actions, being able to lead the conversation in a different direction that's like more interesting to talk, or it could be like physical, like leading her to an environment that is more fun or just like builds more sexual tension, having the confidence to be able to lead rather than, the inverse, which is just being passive. A lot of guys are passive because they're just really stuck in their head. They kind of don't want to rock the boat. So they're just like, okay, I'm just going to be passive. I'm only going to do like what she says if she wants to do it. And while it feels like the safe option, it just really is a big turnoff because you're putting a lot of pressure on her to like do a lot of invest a lot emotionally and like do a lot logistically and whatnot. You just have to have the ability to lead in some way. Another thing is physical care rather than just like neglecting yourself physically. You don't even have to be in the best shape, if I'm being honest. Like if you're just better than where you are right now, it does make a big difference. Like you don't have to be like a massive bodybuilder, or you don't have to have like one of these like really elite physiques that you may see on TikTok or Instagram. It's basically taking care of yourself that triggers something rather than like neglecting your body. Another one is having emotional groundedness rather than having like so much volatility. Because women are emotional. If your emotions are swinging just like hers, and like you're very prone to just these different emotions, it just makes things harder. It's a big turnoff. It like you don't want to be like on the extreme end of this where you're just like emotionally flat. Basically having emotional intelligence, I would say. Being able to feel and express emotions, but not go too far, because by having that groundedness, it's just something that turns women on more than a guy who is very volatile or is completely flat. Next is having your own life versus, making her your world. A lot of guys do this when, all of these kind of tie in together. Like, if you have a life of your own, you're not going to be as needy. You're going to naturally have more confidence because you're not making her your world. You're not putting all of this pressure on her to, it's kind of the thing like putting women on a pedestal. Like when you put a woman on a pedestal and you treat her as if she's like more valuable, more important than you, it's just a big turnoff because you're putting so much pressure on her. And generally, girls don't even want to be with a guy who is like of lower value than them. They want a guy who is like higher level than them. Like it's called hypergamy. Basically, you've got to demonstrate that you have your own things going and stop making her so important. Stop putting her on the pedestal. Lastly is being authentic rather than trying to perform. A lot of guys, just to impress a woman or just to like try and get them to like them, they'll act way nicer than they actually want to just so that they can, get some pussy or, get her to give him attention and whatnot. Girls generally are very, very in tune with like social cues. Like they can sense that you're being authentic. They can sense that you're just BSing. They can sense that you're just trying to get something out of the interaction by being inauthentic. So it's in your best interest to just be authentic. Now, you may have already heard ideas like this and you kind of have an intuitive idea of, okay, yeah, I need to be more confident. I need to be able to lead, like stop being so passive, take care of myself physically, have some emotional groundedness, have my own life and, be more authentic. We understand like those sound good ideas, but how do you actually go about doing it? I found it really comes down to the three major areas of your life. It's not everything, but these are like the three major things that I found. It's your physique, your finances, and your social life. If you just work on these and level these areas of your life up, these things will like take care of themselves naturally. For example, if it's a physique thing, a lot of guys are insecure with where their body is right now. And because of that, they have less confidence and, they're not taking care of themselves physically, essentially. But once they start doing things like taking care of their diet, stop eating so much junk food and whatever, eat better, things happen, like they have less acne or whatever because they're eating more whole foods rather than all this processed stuff. They start going to the gym, start building more muscle, get a little bit leaner. They see themselves in the mirror. They feel a little bit better about themselves. That gives them a lot of confidence. It, takes care of themselves physically. And it just like goes into all of these other things. You start having your routine. You start having a life of your own. You're not like so focused on her because you have your own things to do. Like, okay, like a part of my life is working out. A part of my life is eating healthy. By focusing on your physique and your health and all of these different things, a lot of these characteristics naturally start to show up in your interactions. I know for me personally, I was very insecure about my body because, people would tease me about skinny or about being skinny and whatnot. And once I started building muscle and people started noticing that I had more muscular, I got like teased less about it. Started seeing myself in the mirror. I felt more confident. Naturally, when I started to interact with girls, I was coming from a different frame. I didn't have to fake this confidence. It was just like something naturally that came to me. Another area of your life is, fixing your finances. A lot of young guys, especially, they're broke. Even more adult guys, they're broke because they haven't been focusing on getting their finances right. Again, it goes back into like a confidence thing. You're able to lead more because you have more resources to actually like lead. Things like this may help you be more emotionally grounded because, when you're broke, things can be very frustrating. That you have this thing that you absolutely need, but you can't afford it. Like that can really stress a lot of guys out. If you have your finances in check, even if you're not like the richest guy, like you don't have to be the richest guy, but just fixing and leveling up this area of your life, it naturally shows up in your interactions. You're going to be more confident. You have that freedom to be more authentic because you're not like, oh my gosh, I really, want her to like me because like if you internally, if your like personal life isn't set up in the right way and you're trying to get a girl, she's going to pick up on these little social cues that you're giving off unconsciously that signal that something's not right. If you're really insecure about your finances, if you're really insecure about your physique, like it's not something you consciously try to like show, like you may be trying to mask it, but it's going to come up. Like eventually she's going to like notice those things about you and you're going to suffer to that degree that like that's a bottleneck in your life. So again, working on your physique, working on your finances, leveling up these areas of your life, that'll help you a lot. And also socially, that's the third one. Again, a lot of confidence, a lot of the ability to lead, having a life of your own, being able to be authentic. If you have a good social life, if you're normally talking to people, whether it's just your bros or, you're going out on a regular basis, just talking to girls in a casual kind of way, you start to level up this area of your life. Again, a lot of these like characteristics just naturally like start to show up. You have more confidence because you start to realize, or like on a subconscious level, like this individual girl is not that important. Like, because I already like have built myself up socially, I'm able to talk to people and it's like not a weird thing. I don't feel like autistic all the time. You level up your social life in general. It demonstrates that you have a life of your own, whether you're hanging out with your boys all the time or whether, you just have this club that you go to and you meet up with like some people. It demonstrates that you have a life of your own and like she's not the one most important thing in your life. It allows you to be more authentic because you may be able to tell like stories about things that have happened. It just leveling up social life. This is probably the most effective thing if like you're trying to get laid and just like want girls to want you sexually, because you can work on the physique. You can like have a lot of like riches and whatnot, but there's a lot of guys who have those things, but they're still kind of autistic. They don't know how to talk to girls. Certainly being in that position, it makes it a lot easier for you to then transition because you have a lot of these things. You have like confidence and just all these things that make it easier to level up in socializing. But definitely I would say if you have like a very good social life, if you're like easy to talk to, you have like a lot of exposure. That's pretty much how you level up in all of these areas. Just by getting exposure, you start to level up in these areas and it becomes a lot easier. You just level up your physique, level up your finances, level up your social life. Getting more sexual attention from women becomes so much easier. It's not necessarily about, that you have the best, nice, like sexy looking body. It's not necessarily that you have $1 million, you're really rich. It's not necessarily that you have a whole bunch of friends that you can talk to. It's not like the things. It's what those things signal in your interactions with women. What she's picking up on a subconscious level, which is basically what sexual attraction is. It's a lot of it is just on a subconscious level. It's not something that you like consciously think about. When you have these things, you're giving off the impression, you're demonstrating that you have confidence rather than being needing. You're demonstrating that you have the ability to lead rather than, just being passive. You're demonstrating that you're taking care of yourself physically rather than neglecting it. You're demonstrating that you have a level of emotional groundedness rather than being very volatile or, emotionally flat. By having these things, you're demonstrating that you have a life of your own and that if you do engage with her, like you're not going to put her on the pedestal and put all that pressure on her. And you're able to be more authentic rather than trying to perform just to get laid. This is why a lot of the advice to get more attraction from women isn't necessarily about the woman themselves. It's about building yourself up so that women are just attracted to you. Basically, the main thing is you just have to start leveling up. Women don't want to be with losers. They want to be with winners, and winners generally have good physiques. They generally have taken care of their finances. They generally have a good social life. You don't need to have all of these things, obviously, but just leveling up whatever area that you can that makes the most sense to you, that's going to make your dating life a whole lot easier. So I hope this helps.